Hello, kindred spirits. Welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. My name is Caitlin, and today we are going to be diving into the energy, insights, and guidance on their way in for you for the next 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Alright, so welcome back, my beautiful kindred spirits, and anyone new who may be joining us here today. We are going to be playing around with the charms and tarot here again to look into those next 2 weeks for this energy, insights, and guidance, as I already mentioned, but also to look into that main theme, and we're also going to be going week by week as well. But before we start getting into the nitty-gritty of each of these piles, I do want to mention the ways in which you can support this space. So you can check out the Kindred tip jar down below. That's always available, and everything that goes in there goes right back into the channel. But if you also are interested in a private reading for snail mail readings that I send to you in the mail, or if you're interested in rainbow earrings for Pride to share your colors or to show your flag, then do feel free to check all of that out down below. The availability for these are a little bit more limited right now, just based off of the time that I'm going to have over the next couple of weeks and months. So if you're interested in one, definitely hop on it now, and all of the availability for all of that will be down below, but you can also really stay up to date on that on my Instagram, where I keep it quite up to date and let you know more frequently. So with that all said, let's go ahead and start diving into these piles. So for each of the piles, I decided to do a little watercolor affirmation, and if you're curious on how I make these, I have a whole video on that, but we're going to start looking at each of them. So here for pile number 1, we have the affirmation of let go of all you can't control. So that is pile number 1. For pile number 2 here, we have shoot for the stars. So that is pile number 2. And then here for pile number 3, we have go your own way. So that is pile number 3. So before you start heading off to the timestamps, I'd like to invite you to take a deep and cleansing, grounding breath here with me to really connect with your intuition and connect with the piles. You're welcome to pause the video as well. But let's go ahead and take a deep cleansing breath here together. And as always, there's no right or wrong way to choose your piles here. You can choose all 3 of the piles if they're really calling to you, mixing them, matching them how you see fit. There really are no rules or right or wrong way. All of the timestamps will be down below in the description alongside the chapter marks of this video. And like I said, if you're curious about the availability or any of the offerings that I have available for private readings or others, all of the information on that will be down below through my Instagram. So with that all said, let's go ahead and get started here with pile number 1. Hello, group 1. If you've decided to choose this specific affirmation of letting go of all you can't control, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set it over here so you can see it during your reading, and we're going to see if it resonates as we go further. But we're going to be playing around more with the charm format that I've been doing for the last few months. So we're going to be starting out with letter and number tiles, and then we're going to pull a main message for your next 2 weeks. And then we're going to be utilizing the charms as well as charm tarot tiles to look into the next 2 weeks, specifically week by week for you. So do feel free to get settled, get ready to go, get some coffee, get yourself some water, some tea, a snack, a blanket, whatever you would like, or even a journal to take down notes, and we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So the next 2 weeks for you here, group 1, we're going to look, like I said, to see if that let go of all you can't control does show up within your messages. But we're going to start out first with the letter tiles. So these are always to look into specific names. You can think of these as initials or other people that might show up. And we're also going to see if there's any oracle messages that come through with them. So let's start here with you, group 1. Do feel free to send your energy in through time and space. It really does help. And let's see, group 1. So the first thing that I noticed here was facts, and not like I mean, I guess you could see for some of you as it as like actually faxing something, but I'm also seeing it as like facts, like it is a fact, you know what I mean? Like that's facts, like receipts sort of feeling, like it just feels like there's some sort of truth that's coming forward within your week, that you might, like a truth being revealed in some way, or truth through some sort of social communication, just as a fax would be, right? We also have, so we have FAX, but we also have WUA, another U and an I, and lastly here we have a V. So I'm also seeing here, of course, tax. So I know for those of us here in the United States, we've been having tax season just finished, and there still could be leftover stuff that you're trying to maybe sort out there, or other things, maybe tax money that you're utilizing, or other things going on around that showing up here. We also have, like I said, that we have quite a few vowels showing up here, lots of U's, so there could be a really big like emphasis on you this next 2 weeks. So the idea that, like, right, sometimes we put other people ahead of ourselves, and there's quite an emphasis on putting a lot more time into yourself these next 2 weeks. But those are the main things that I'm getting here. I also had like the idea of like tutu for whatever reason, so I'm also seeing like this playful dancing energy as well. And I also, it doesn't fully spell it here, but I thought of like a wave, so there could be waves of emotion as well this next 2 weeks. But we're going to see how that all aligns as we go further. But like I said, do feel free to write these down, mix them up yourself, see what comes through. But let's go ahead and look at your numbers. So with the numbers, you can see these as specific dates coming through for you. So you could see them as, you know, a specific date in these next 2 weeks, or you can see them as angel numbers, repeating numbers, through numerology, and just in general, see what comes through for you. But let's go ahead and mix these up as well. Okay, quite a few here. We pulled 6 different ones, with the number 6 showing up here, as well as 12 and 8, as well as the number 11, 10, and 4. So maybe you're feeling called to a specific color, right? We have blue, orange, not purple, red, and black here with the number 11. So you might be seeing certain groupings here that are showing up. I'm seeing the 18th showing up 2 different ways. If you mix these two colors and numbers together, you end up getting 18 in both of them. So the 18th might be really impactful and important for you. Maybe also the 15th, the early teens into the late teens could be really important for you for these next 2 weeks, or even beyond them, depending on when you're watching this. But these are some of the numbers that we have showing up here, so do feel free to check out these dates and see if there's anything that's really hitting for you. But we're now going to pull you your main card message. So like I said, we're going to be playing around with specific messages from the charms here in a moment, but I want to pull one specific tarot card, one major tarot card, to see the main energy, the main theme for you energetically for the next 2 weeks. So do feel free, especially with this one, to send your energy and maybe meditate on this for a moment, pause if you'd like to, and we're going to see what's coming through for you, group 1. The next 2 weeks, what do you have coming in energy, insights, and guidance, and that main theme for the next 2 weeks? I think it's this one right here. Ooh, you got the Page of Cups, one of my favorite cards in the deck as an artist myself, so I can't help but get excited when I see this card. But we do have this really creative energy showing up here with the Page of Cups, and the Page of Cups, as you can see, is a very artistic and creative person, but creativity doesn't mean necessarily like traditional art like media, but you can also see it as like I said, with that wave and that idea of like dancing that was showing up with that tutu energy and other things like that. Maybe you're just dancing or getting more creative and using your body, right? That can mean maybe you're getting out and going for walks, or maybe that can mean hiking or going for a different hiking route and getting creative in that way. Or creative problem solving could also be happening in these next 2 weeks. But those are the things, like you're really coming at it from a very creative mindset and a creative sort of attitude and things like that. I also feel like this has such a not only creative energy, but kind of a chaotic energy. As you can see, they have like the paints all at their feet, and they're just sort of, they even have their shoes off, right? And they've taken their things off, and they're just really getting into whatever it is that they're into. So I also can see you getting very like tunnel visioned this next 2 weeks, right? So you could get really, really focused on some things and really into it, right? And not only physically doing all of the stuff or repetitively, but also like emotionally invested. So you might have some things that you're very much emotionally invested in these next 2 weeks that really give you joy or give you creativity or really just get you in that focused, peaceful zone. So that's really what I'm seeing here for your next 2 weeks already. And that let go of all you can't control reminds me of that chaotic energy that's happening here at their feet, and the idea that you're like letting go of the control. You're just letting what happens happen on the canvas being your life, the canvas being your time and your energy. Maybe not fully planning everything out or trying to control every little piece, and just seeing how you can get invested in the chaos, right? You know, in a good way, not in like a kind of gossipy chaos, but more so like wanted and needed chaos, and sort of an open-minded feeling. So that's really what we have so far from your main card, but we're going to be pulling you some charms here in a moment, but I'm going to have these here on the side so you can still kind of see them. But let's go ahead and focus here on your charms. So like I said, we're going to go week by week. So we're going to be pulling charms here in this area for the first week, and then this little noodle shape here for the second week, and anything that falls here in the center just represents more on that main page of cups energy, or anything else that's that main focus, and anything that falls on the moons we'll talk about individually. So let's start by pulling you some of these tarot tiles, and these are from the Charmcast Tarot, which is an amazing tarot deck. I love it. They're just these little metal charms, but let's go ahead and mix these up. So as always, do feel free to send your energy into the abyss, and let's see, group 1. Okay, so you had one launch itself all the way over here by the charm, so I'm going to test it again. All right, so it's fallen over here again, so it's really falling towards that edge, or the next 2 weeks. We don't have anything falling here in the center, and most of yours, except for one, are actually upside down, which means we will reveal them as we go. But the main one that you have first falling in the first week is the Three of Pentacles reversed or upside down here. So we're going to see how that resonates as we move forward. I'm already kind of getting some vibes just from that one, but we're going to get the oracle messages here with the charms to give us more information and more nuance. So do feel free to send your energy in, and let's mix these up. Group 1. Okay, very chaotic in your charms even. They're falling in all sorts of different ways. I'm going to go ahead and drop these and see if they are meant to be here. So these two I'm going to take off the table, and we're going to start here in the center. So let's talk about what we have showing up here in the center first. So like I said, we don't actually have any tarot tiles showing up here, reversed or otherwise, but we do have the cycles charm. So whenever I see this one, it usually means cycles that we're having a really hard time breaking, or they are just cycles that are really healthy for us and that we're maybe kind of moving back into. But there seems to be like a healthy cycle or a cycle that you want to kind of bring back into your life that keeps getting cut off. It reminds me of like the Isa rune from like the Elder Filthark runes, and the idea that like there's something that just kind of is like a block of ice that's kind of cutting off your creativity or cutting off your creative problem solving, something like that, right? Like there's a break in a cycle, but not necessarily that it's warranted or wanted. So that's something else to keep in mind when it comes to this page that we saw earlier, right? So there is that bit of chaos, and maybe it's that idea too that sometimes when we wander off the path, when we let go of that control, when we move into and kind of flow into a different kind of state for ourselves, that's when you can kind of get something new to unlock, almost like it kind of melting away. I can see it melting away. So I think your biggest roadblock from being able to have this creative problem solving coming in is over analyzing it, trying to work through the problem a little too hard. It almost needs a little bit of space, a bit of a breather, taking, and letting it sit for a little while and then having it slowly melt away, because pushing at it aggressively isn't really going to be the best strategy for you these next 2 weeks. So from there, we'll go ahead and zoom you out here as well, and we'll look here at the very first week that we have here. So like I said, we already had something showing up here with that reversed card of the Three of Pentacles, but this card is usually representing community efforts and building something together, or bringing different hobbies and parts of yourself together for something better. But like I was saying, I feel like these next 2 weeks, it's really much about you. You had two of the different letters show up with the letter U. So I really feel like it's about you these next 2 weeks. It's really about giving yourself time. It's not really about trying to make content or make things for other people, or trying to constantly, work around everyone else's schedule, right? Schedule some time in for yourself. Give you that breather room that you really need, because you've been stuck in this cycle, in this spiral, and it really needs a bit of that ease, especially in that first week. And that's going to ease a little bit more freedom into your life, right? We have the cage charm here, and it fell this way, which means the cage door is open. You're welcome. You have space. You have time. You might have to, think about it a little bit in terms of your planner, right? Like maybe you do have to like plan it in and let everyone know, like, these next 2 hours are mine. But like once you get in that space, allow yourself to be free in whatever that means. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when we give ourselves time for ourselves, right? Where it's like, I must accomplish this, this, and this. And sometimes we just need some time off, you know what I mean? And it just needs to be lazing out in front of the TV or not getting something done. Or the complete opposite, right? You can be super productive, but sometimes not being productive is the most productive thing. So I just want to remind you of that, especially with the charms that you have here. The one that we are going to reveal, we have the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands represents a bit of chaos as well. As you can see, this is one of those cards that, if you look at it one way, you can see it as a bunch of people arguing, a big fight, right? And in other ways, it shows someone trying, or a group of people trying to build something together, but like there's still a bit of that chaos energy. Even when you're trying to have everyone on the same page, you still end up having a little bit like one person's still too far ahead, one person's not reading the instructions, one person is just trying to, test things out. And there's this like chaotic energy continuing here in this first week. So just be aware of that things might not go perfectly in this first week. The dreams and the things that you're trying to manifest or move forward, they may not happen in the way that you want to. And like I said, giving yourself a little bit of space, a little bit of ease can probably help to release a little bit of that control that you're feeling, and just also to give yourself a little peace of mind amidst the chaos. But let's go ahead and look here also into the second week. Not sure why the lighting was being so weird, but here we are for the second week. So let's reveal what we have under here. So we have the charm of the Wheel of Fortune. So the Wheel of Fortune has a lot to do with control, like we talked about with that Lego of control. This is like it's the feeling of, I'm almost getting this feeling of that you're feeling behind. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because this represents a lot to do with like the actual wheel of the year or the months of the year, the 12 months in the year. So it's like, oh my gosh, it's actually May already. It still feels like I'm in the first week of January, or I feel so behind. I feel like my mind's still in March, but here we are already, you know, halfway through the year, right? So I can feel this like energy of feeling behind or feeling like you had more you wanted to get done, especially since you had it fall on the overwhelmed charm, which represents, right, you have so much, it's kind of like spreading yourself too thin. And then we also have the charm of kind of putting yourself on a pedestal, or putting all of the things that you want like a little bit too high, to the point where you feel like you could fall, right? If you don't get them all done, then you are a failure, or you are not good enough, or whatever it might be that is cycling in your brain. So you might feel a little bit more insecure or a little bit more overwhelmed in the second week. Again, that ease is really important. You can use that even into the second week, and I think that could be really useful to you. So if you did give yourself a little bit of time in the first week, then maybe cycle that over to the next week as well, because I think you'd really benefit from it. I also think trying not to, like I said, when you try to control the wheel of the year, or trying to control the months of the year, trying to push it all and try to grind it back to March, really doesn't really work in your favor. It's more helpful, I think, for you to kind of put down some of that pedestal, let yourself down from it a little bit, let yourself have few mistakes, or not be as far ahead in the year as you wish to be, and let that be okay, and maybe sit with that for a little bit, and you know, realize that time is just a construct, right? And so even though we're halfway through the year, you always have the opportunity to begin again, to try again. Any month of the year, you can rename and make it your own. So that's kind of the energy we have here. We also have the letter O, in case that resonates for anyone, especially if you were using the letters that we looked at earlier and you were looking for an O. But we also have a few charms showing over here on the moons. And so the moons can represent things around timing. So depending on when you are watching this, you can check a moon app and see what cycle you're currently in. But around the first quarter moon and heading towards the full moon, we have a few different things happening here. This is the moon of action, by the way. It's about taking the things that we want to accomplish and putting actual action towards them. And then the full moon being able to celebrate that. So something between that is happening. So we have here the Three of Swords as well as the moon. Okay, so this is really interesting, especially because we also have the divine timing charm. And I can also see this as feeling again like that time limit. There's a time limit on your dreams. There's a time limit on the things you want to accomplish. Especially since we had that dream charm showing up earlier with the Neptune charm. So I really do feel like there is something that you're feeling like you need to rush and hurry and quickly finish. It feels like you're like really hurriedly painting. I can't say the word properly, but you know what I'm saying, like very quickly painting into your life. And by quickening and trying to push further and quicker and faster, you just end up making more of a mess and more chaos. So it makes more sense to just let go, to get what you can done, and see what happens. We also have the moon, again, more about dreams, but it also can represent illusions. So there's this illusion of time being very prevalent in your next 2 weeks, and letting go of that time element is most important for you, I think, because that's what's showing up most for you. So those are the things that I'm seeing here for you for the next 2 weeks. I do hope you got something out of this reading, and if you did, do be sure to give this video a like. It really does help the channel so much, so thank you. Also, let me know in the comments down below. I don't always reply immediately, but I see everything that you guys all write, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below on the readings. And do feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, as I put out new videos every single Monday. And if you'd like to check out the different offerings that I have, those will be listed down below. May is going to be kind of a weird month, as well as June, for as of when snail mail readings and different offerings that I have will be available. So definitely feel free to check that out down below and on my Instagram to stay updated. But with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and move on to group 2, but I'm wishing you the best for your next 2 weeks, group 1. Bye. Hello, Group 2. If you've decided to choose Shoot for the Stars, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to go ahead and set your affirmation down here so you can see it during your reading, and we're going to see how that resonates for your next 2 weeks here. As we're going to stay with the per usual format where we're going to be using the charms with the tarot charms here and also using the letter tiles and numbers here to start. So do feel free to get yourself cozy and ready to go for this reading, and we are going to get started right away. I'm feeling so just raring to go for your guys' pile, so let's just get right into it. So I usually start here with the letter tiles, and these are to look into specific initials, places. You can even write out different words and oracle messages that come through for you. Play around with them, see what happens, and do feel free, as always, to send your energy in through time and space. It makes a big difference in collective readings to bring in that little personal touch. But let's go ahead and see what you have coming in here, Group 2, the next 2 weeks. Like I said, raring to go. Your charms or your letters just immediately, it was these are the ones. So we have first off showing their face with Y, B, and P. But we also have here A, D, S, and L. So the first thing that I noticed right off the bat is whenever I see a huge influx of consonants and not a huge one when it comes to a bunch of vowels, it means that your communication can be a little bit unbalanced, which means you might be wanting to get the first word. There can be this feeling of wanting to I kind of feel this budging feeling of wanting to be ahead of the game for some reason, or wanting to be ahead of the curve. Or I'm also getting this feeling you might be talking more about things than you are showing that you're working on things or doing something. You could see this going multiple different ways, so see what's resonating for you already. But the things that I saw here, I saw pals, and pals feel sort of, I feel obviously can represent friendship, but I can feel this distant feeling from pals, right? This feeling of either that they could be physically quite distant from you right now. Maybe they are just, quite busy or not able to really reach them over these next 2 weeks. But I can feel this feeling maybe they just felt they dropped off the face of the earth, kind of feeling, especially with why pals. So see how that resonates. But that's what I immediately was kind of sensing and feeling here. Why also, whenever I see that show up, it also can represent that you have more questions than answers coming in this next 2 weeks too. So there could be this need for some clarification with someone, especially within friendship. But we have a lot showing up here within friendship right off the bat. But I'm going to go ahead and leave those at that, but do feel free and see what you have coming in. But we're going to go ahead and look at your numbers as well. So with these, very similar, we're going to be looking, instead of into initials and such like that, we're actually going to be looking into any dates over the next 2 weeks that might be really prevalent. You can look at these also as angel numbers or other specific numerological letter or numbers coming through for you as well for different messages. So let's see what we have coming in here for you, Group 2. Okay, so first up, this was the one that was really calling out to me, was the number 9, and it's in the color orange, but you also have it's definitely the number 9, because we have the number 6 here as well, and then we also have the number 9 showing up here again, as well as the number 2. So we have 3 that are in this orange with 299, and then we also have the number 6 in the color blue. So you can see these as different categories for you. Maybe you're feeling more towards the blue, maybe more towards the orange. You could look up different angel numbers with 299. But like I said, I was feeling really called to that number 9 energy. 9 being something that's almost complete, right? It's something that's almost to your liking or almost there, but just just a little bit more. It could talk to resilience. It can talk to kind of like I was talking about with the letters, trying to just get your word out, right? You just have like something on the tip of your tongue or something you really want to say, and it's just like right there, but it's not like happening. So I can see that showing up here as well, especially with Shoot for the Stars. There can be quite a lot of build-up that's showing up here as well, like a build-up of something. So we're going to see how that's coming in now with your main card. So we are going to be doing more tarot cards and charms here when we look into specifically week by week. But first we're going to be looking into just that main energy overarching over these next 2 weeks. So do feel free, as always, to send your energy in, especially since this is that main one. But let's see collectively over the next 2 weeks. Group 2, what do you have coming in as that main theme, energy, insights, or guidance for you? So I want to look a little further here. Group 2. Okay, so yeah, we have the 10 of Cups, something right on the other end. Like I said, something you're building up towards. 10 being the completion number. It also can be the number of like idealism as well. With Shoot for the Stars, it can represent an idealistic point of view, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Some people want to be more realistic, and maybe you're kind of playing around in fantasy or playing around in that dream kind of realm and working your way to there. There also is quite a lot of abundance within this card. Whenever we see the 10s, they can talk a lot about abundance, but being as this is in the cup suit, it usually represents a really fulfilling and comforting time. It represents everyone gathering and getting together and feeling really comfortable, and it doesn't have to be that you're gathering with other people, but just in general, your own presence is feeling very fulfilled. You're feeling very uplifted, encouraged, and it's just like a really wonderful feeling. The 10 of Cups is a very idealistic, what everyone hopes for kind of card. And so I really think that you're really working towards this sort of inner peace, or this feeling of an emotional flow kind of state where you just feel really good. Whether that's not always that you're having the best emotions, it's not necessarily that you're always at the idealistic, happiest, perfect state, but rather that you're like in flow with your emotions, which makes it easier, and there's a lot of ease that I'm really feeling. But as always, I want to look a little further, so I'm going to move these over here and zoom you back out so we can see the charm mat here. But let's go ahead and look a little bit further. So whenever we use this mat, I like to split it up into different sections. So we're going to be looking into 2 different weeks. So this little noodle shape is week 1, this one is week 2. Anything that falls here in the middle is more on that main energy with the 10 of Cups, and then anything that falls on the outside we'll talk about individually. So let's start with the tarot charms. So these are just little tarot tiles, the Charmcast Tarot, and we are going to be mixing these up in a moment, but do feel free to send your energy into the abyss here and see what calls back. So let's go. Group 2. So I honestly was feeling very specific ones that kept grabbing at my fingers, but we have here showing up between week 1 and that main energy, the 3 of Wands here, which I'll zoom here in a minute, but we have 2 that we will reveal as we go on. But let's start out with getting a little bit more information with some oracle messages with the bits and bobs here of the charms. If you're interested in charm casting, I've made an entire video, a master guide video on charm casting from all of the knowledge that I have compiled together over the years from charm casting. So if you're interested in that, do feel free to check it out. But let's go ahead and see what you have coming in here. Group 2. Okay, so all of them stayed kind of put where they needed to be. So I'm not going to actually pull any more, but let's go ahead and see here in the center if we got any more, which we did get one more charm here alongside a bit of this react charm. I mostly feel like that's week 2. So let's just focus here on these two. So first off, we have that 3 of Wands, which, as you can see, this is a person standing out looking into an abyss and sort of dreaming of an adventure that they wish to embark on. And so this is about actually taking action towards something that you are ready to spring forward on and try to actually embark and put into reality. So I really feel like there's something within these next 2 weeks that is a dream, that is this idealistic thing. And I don't think that you're necessarily going to achieve it here in the very first, these next 2 weeks, but I do think you're really working towards it. You're shooting your shot, you're really putting yourself out there, and you're kind of giving yourself a launch pad to be able to make this happen. And as we all know, dreams that are just written in a diary, thought in our head, but we don't put any action towards, we don't look for opportunities, we don't actually put our best foot forward or even try, even if that means making mistakes or failing or messing up. We'll stay in those diaries, we'll stay in those journals, we'll stay in our mind, but they won't ever actually make it into reality. So this is about these next 2 weeks. If there's something you've been dreaming about, that idealistic, perfect, beautiful view that we had with that 10 of Cups card, this is about actually making an action and forward step, shooting your shot and putting it out there. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and see what you have more in these next 2 weeks. So here in the first one, let's reveal what we have here. So we have the Hermit card. So the first week isn't necessarily that you aren't taking action, but I do think that you're still in those planning stages, in those hesitancy stages. I'm feeling hesitancy in this first week. We have that whatever it is that you're dreaming up is quite a unique dream. And also something that could be quite empowering for you, because we have the mini little hat here, we have the self-love charm and like self-love rituals and self-care rituals, and then we have the very well-known and well-loved idea of the unicorn, which is all about that unique point of view. So I really think there's something you're shining light on. If you see like in this charm, you are shining light on these unique parts of yourself and these unique dreams that you have. And just because they're not mainstream, just because they're not the most sort of popular or cool kind of thing, doesn't mean it's not worth shining your light on, doesn't mean it isn't worth your time and your energy. So that's what I'm really seeing here in the first week, is kind of planning and shining your light before you shoot your shot. And then over here on the second week, we have a little bit more of that hesitancy showing up here with the react charm. I'm almost seeing like you've scribbled it out, right? You wrote it down, you made plans, and then you scribbled it out, and you're like, I don't know. I mean, that was just for fun, right? That was just a silly little thing that I was thinking about doing. So I feel like there is still that hesitancy, and that's okay, right? It's okay to hesitate. It's okay to not know if you're ready or not ready to make the leap or shoot your shot. But I do think you are working yourself up to it, and each time that you put it out there, each time you start with just small little steps is still, a baby step forward. So don't get yourself down too much about that. We also have the more of that shining light. This really reminds me of that little lantern again. So shining more light, and what you're shining light on is community. And so either your dream has something to do with your family, your community, your close-knit friends, like I said, with those pals. And like I said earlier with the letter tiles, maybe your pals are just not very present here in that first week, but maybe you're starting to feel like you can make some plans or shine some light on making some plans in the second week. That's showing up here. But also your community could be a part of this dream, or it could be a really good help in jump starting you. We also have that turtle charm, the turtle spirit, or the turtle kind of slow down, steady kind of feeling. And then the zebra, so more unique energy, the zebra showing your stripes, showing, unique points of view. And, taking your time, easing yourself into it. I see a lot of ease and slow down energy, that it doesn't all have to happen in one go, right? We want to make it back to the moon and everything like that, and we've gone to the moon before as humans, but it definitely took a lot of work, it definitely took a lot of failure, it definitely took a lot of time, and still is a lot to even get back. So, you know, you don't have to, you know, do it all in one go. You can take small steps, and it's okay to mess up in between, but you have a community there that's definitely showing up in multiple ways, that you have community that can help you make this happen. And then lastly here, we have a few charms showing up here on the outside. So we have like this icy charm. Whenever I see this, it kind of feels like something sort of iced over, glazed over. And then we have the charm of the ugly, icky, I don't like it charm, because personally I don't really like this charm. But that's the whole point. It's meant to represent the things that we don't like to look at, or the things that, you know, either we feel insecure about, we don't like to look at, we don't want to focus or shine a light on, and yet you're still sort of shining a light as we move forward. But let's see how that kind of ends up moving as we go here. So we also have the 7 of Wands. So I definitely see that over the next 2 weeks, you're going to have to shine a light on not only what you're wanting to manifest, like those dreams, into reality, but also looking at the ugly parts, or the failure or mistake parts that you kind of glaze over, and kind of fight back against, and kind of give yourself a little bit more compassion and grace and freedom to make mistakes. So that's kind of the energy that I'm really getting here overall for your next 2 weeks. But do let me know in the comments down below if you saw things differently, or if there are other certain charms that really called out to you. I'm always curious to see what you have cooking up in your own intuition. So do let me know in the comments down below. And also do be sure to give this video a like if you really did enjoy the reading. It really helps the channel and I appreciate it. And also, if you haven't already, do be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated as I put out new videos every single Monday. And it's always nice to have some new faces and some new energy to read for. So do feel free to subscribe. And also, if you haven't already, do feel free to check out the different offerings that I provide down below. It's a great way to support this space. I have my Kindred tip jar down below, as well as private readings and other unique handmade crafted items, all of which will be down below, as well as on my Instagram, to be able to see and stay up to date on those, as they might be changing a little bit up in May and June. So do feel free to check that all out down below, and I do wish you the best for your next 2 weeks, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello group 3, if you've decided to choose Go Your Own Way for your specific affirmation for these next 2 weeks, then this is the pile for you. I'm going to set it over here so you can see it during your reading, as we are going to stick with the typical new kind of 2 week ahead reading that I've been up to lately, where we pull a specific theme from a tarot deck and we actually look into each week individually with the charms and different tarot charms as well. And we're also going to be looking and starting out with the letters and number tiles. So if you are ready and you're feeling really into it, and you've got your water and you're feeling cozy, then we're going to go ahead and get started here for you. We're going to see if Go Your Own Way really resonates for your pile, and use it as a bit of an oracle message here to get us kicking off. But yeah, go ahead and start sending in your energy and getting us going here. So we're going to start with the letter tiles. So when I do these, this is going to be any oracle messages that show up that we can write out with words, but also any names or letters or initials that really speak to you. Do feel free to use your own intuition and see what comes through. So let's go ahead and start here with your letters. So group 3, what do you got cooking up for the next 2 weeks? It's kind of funny that it flipped over the affirmation here. So we'll see what this one is. We have the letter W, more on that go your own way, and literally way is written here. And then we have like a little T here, which makes me think of like a T in a road, right? And you're kind of like stuck at like a crossroads. But you can't continue going in the same direction. You have to choose a new route. So I'm really feeling like there's a new direction that you have to take, and it means having to cut off from the direction you've been going, right? You can't just keep coasting down like that four-way stop. You have to stop and kind of pivot. So I'm seeing that showing up here, some sort of pivot or shift in your energy or shift in direction. But we also have the letter S, so there's multiple ways that you could take. And then we also have another A here. For how unstraight that you can continue on this path, I do feel like these letters are really giving us that straightforward message with way already showing up here. But I'm also seeing, if you look at here a little bit more, we have stay. So I really see that some of you are kind of in this should I stay or should I go kind of feeling about which way you want to take. So it's kind of showing us two different directions. So we're going to see if you're feeling more stagnant or if you're going to start making a different direction and a shift here. But let's go ahead and start looking at these numbers. So similar to the letters, this time we're going to be looking into specific dates that are coming up for you over the next 2 weeks. Things to look at your calendar, your planner, and seeing what might be there, but also any angel numbers or any numerological messages or other repeating numbers that are really relevant to you. So let's go ahead and see what you've got here, group 3. Okay, so we have the the number 5 and 1, as well as 9, or it kind of came out more as 6 to me, even though it kind of can be flipped the other way. So either 6 or 9 here, and then we have 5, 1, and 1. So we definitely have 2 1 showing up here, so the 11th could be really important for you, the 15th, the 16th, the 5th or the 6th, the 1st of the month. Things like that could be really impactful for you. You could also maybe feel really drawn to the specific colors that are showing up here. But because we do have 11 can really, or even 1s, can represent kind of wishful thinking, and also that you got 2 different ones, 2 different directions that you could take, right? That first step in one direction or the other. And both seem to be very similar. So that's kind of what I've got showing up here already, just generally from what we have here, but I want to look a little bit further, right? And we're going to see what you have coming in here from your main tarot card message. So I like to pull you one specific tarot card here to see the overarching main theme showing up in your life for the next 2 weeks. But like I said, we're also going to be using the charm mat here in a minute to look into the specifics of week by week. But let's look here first for your next 2 weeks for that main theme. So do feel free to send your energy in. That always makes such a difference. So group 3, what do you have coming in for the next 2 weeks as that main energy? Ooh, kind of flying out at us. We have the Knight of Cups. So interestingly, we have a lot of cup energy. I think every single one of the piles that we've had have been a cup card. So that's really interesting. There is a lot of emotion flowing in and out this month for sure. And we're kind of showcasing here for you for your next 2 weeks the idea that you are being led by your emotions quite a lot. Your emotions are really giving you literal motion to move you forward. So really leading off your intuition, listening to your gut feelings are going to be really helpful for you, even when they seem like the dangerous one, even if it seems more risky or it seems like, oh, I don't know, like from the surface level. I feel like there is going to be so much more to be gained by listening to your heart than it is to listen to your head or listen to logic. And I know that isn't always the safest thing, or it isn't always the best thing from other people's point of view, but I do think that there is this leap of faith showing up here for your next 2 weeks, and this feeling of really trusting, fully self-trusting in yourself, and trusting not only in your intuition, your instincts, and your gut, but also what you're feeling led towards, right? Because this doesn't have to be romantic with all the little hearts here, but you can see that they're very much being led by their emotions. They're being led by how they're feeling. And that isn't to say to fall into your emotions or to let them like be in the driver's seat. It's just really listening to your emotions, and when they feel right, to take a very healthy lens to utilize them, right? So there is a bit of nuance there for sure, but that is what I'm really seeing here from that Knight of Cups right off the bat. So let's go ahead and move this out of the way, and I'll go ahead and zoom you back out as well so you can see everything. And we are going to go ahead and start by pulling you some charms and getting going on your mat here. So let me explain. So basically, when we do the charms here, I like to look into both of your 2 weeks, and how we want to do that is here in the center is going to be more on that main energy. So any of those main energies, anything that falls here will be on that. But then we are also going to look at these 2 little noodle shapes for your next 2 weeks. So this being week 1 and this being week 2. And then anything that falls on the moons or outside of the mat we'll talk about individually. So let's start here with the tarot charms, with the Charmcast Tarot. So do feel free to send your energy into the abyss here and see what comes back. So let's see, group 3, the next 2 weeks. Okay, so I already find this really interesting just because on the very bottom of the deck there was the 3 of Cups here, and then you also have the 3 of Cups showing up here as well in your central ring, which we'll zoom into this in a minute so you can see all the little details. But we also have here showing up the 8 of Wands, which has kind of a stagnancy to it because it's kind of leaning on the side. So we'll see how that comes in. And then everything else here we'll reveal as we go. So let's go ahead and pull you those charms to get those nuanced details, and then we'll look at them. So do feel free to send your energy in through time and space. And let's mix these up, group 3. So let's see, let's start here in the center. So what do we have here? So like I said, we already have that that Knight of Cups energy already showing up here. But on top of that, you have more Cups energy with 3 of Cups alongside that 8 of Wands, showcasing a bit of stagnancy in this, and then the letter R, in case that helps with any of the other letters that we already got or other things like that, which I find kind of funny now that I'm looking at it too, because the only letter that we were really missing here to say stray away showing up here is an R. So for some of you, again, I feel like there is a little bit, like, obviously still use your own discernment with that that sort of cautionary message or cautionary tale, but I do think for the majority of you, it's like I said, you're at sort of a crossroads trying to figure out which way you're going to go, and that coasting along isn't really going to kind of cut it for you, unfortunately, which I understand sometimes having to make a big kind of pivot is a lot. So talking it over with your community, letting other people know how you're feeling could be really useful to you for these next 2 weeks, and can help you kind of slow things down and look at things from a different point of view, right? So we have, like I said, a lot of community showing up here with the 3 of Cups, and this is like an emotional, a safe space, like an emotional safe space. So getting together with people that you really trust, that you can talk things over with, that you can explain how you're feeling with all of the emotions that you might be feeling, that are kind of helping to guide you. It might be helpful to also talk to other people and see their input as well, because we do have sort of slowing down or slowing things down a little bit. Yes, listen to your heart, but that doesn't mean you have to fly immediately and go get that thing done. So that's what I'm really getting here just from the center ring, but let's go ahead and see what's showing up here with the other 2 rings. So first off, with the first side, we didn't get actually any cards other than this one over by the moons, which we'll talk about at the end. But here for your first week, we have the React charm alongside the star, which can relate to the actual sort of star card. So I see a lot of guidance, again, more guidance showing up here, again, being guided by your heart and by your natural reactions and your natural instincts, but also thinking them over before you act too is kind of coming up here too. Just because you feel immediately pushed towards it doesn't mean you can't also take a moment to feel them out a little bit longer than just immediately going off your instincts here in the first week. You also have the thou shalt not steal charm. So whenever I see this one, it means like it reminds me of someone trying to rain on your parade. So I know I keep saying, I feel like I have a lot of things that kind of keep kind of butting heads as I go through this reading, where one side I feel like there is a lot of you who really need to follow your heart, where others really are learning to trust your instincts, and some of you need that advice in between. So for some of you, I feel like you might be getting advice and you might be having someone tell you, hey, I don't know if that's the best thing for you, or hey, I don't know about this, and you might have a lot of pushback in the first week with their advice. You know what I mean? Sometimes we get advice from well-trusted people in our life, and yet we're still like, I mean, I really wanted you to say the other thing. I really wanted you to tell me to go do this thing, or tell me how it is, or give me your opinion and it align with mine. So I think you might get some guidance in the first week that you don't really agree with, or you don't feel kind of aligns with those instincts that you were immediately getting. Other things that are happening for some of you here in the first week, we have the beauty charm of the swan. The swan is also a very protective charm. So again, I feel like some of you are like cutting off some of that advice. But I also feel like someone's like, maybe you feel like someone's trying to clip off your wings or clip off the beauty of the situation, or trying to like clip off your excitement. So I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I do think that you're going to really have to use your own discernment for this first week. But let's look at what's going on here in the second week, because it's quite a mystery so far. All we have showing up here is the puzzle charm, so that's got me puzzled. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. We have the Two of Wands, and then we also have the Three of Wands. The Two of Wands being about kind of pondering or looking at where you want to go and what you're doing. It's very much the planning stages of inspiration, right? We see inspiration. It reminds me of like scrolling through Pinterest or looking at a recipe, but not actually making the recipe, right? It's just the feeling inspired, but then not actually doing or acting on it. And then the Three of Wands represents actually acting on it. So the fact that you got both the 2 and the 3 means that if there was something that felt unclear in that first week that you were puzzled about, you got some advice from, you're trying to follow your heart, you're trying to make that next step, you're trying to decide, I think you start to decide by the second week. You start to either plan to make a decision, or some of you are finally actually making an action on it from something that you were once puzzled about, which is awesome to see showing up here. And then lastly here, over by the new moon and between the last quarter moon here, we have, which could be timing wise, so do feel free to look at a moon app and see when that is showing up here for you timing wise. We have here the Tower. So there could be a really unexpected shift having to come forward. Like I was saying, like sometimes if we don't make the shift, the universe will make the shift happen for us. If we don't pivot, the universe will make sure it happens. So I do think that if you don't make this pivot by the second week, then as we get closer to the new moon, whenever that is when you're watching this, I do think that the universe is going to be like, okay, I'm going to make it happen. So I do think that regardless, whatever this big pivot is on its way in regardless, but it's up to you to decide on the details, and it's up to you to decide which way you really want to go. So that's everything that I'm really getting here from your charms and your cards here, group 3. There isn't a lot more that I'm seeing here. Like I said, it's kind of wanting to flip-flop and change its mind as we go here. So do feel free to take your time here, look at the cards, see if there's something that's really calling out to you, especially since there's so much intuitive energy, instinctual energy as well, like natural instincts really showing up here for you in your next 2 weeks. So Do let me know what you thought down below in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and also do feel free to give this video a like if you haven't already. It really does help the channel so much, and it lets me know that you enjoyed the reading, so thank you. And if you haven't already, do consider subscribing, as I put out new videos every single Monday, and those are on love, career, spirituality. I've done master guide videos on charm casting and other fun educational videos too on the channel, so do feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. And all of my offerings are down below. They might be a little bit different here for May and June, just based off of the things and events that are happening in my life, but if you want to be up to date, Instagram is probably the best place to go. Also, the Kindred tip jar is down below if you want to check that out. And yeah, I believe that is everything for your pile here. Thank you so much for joining me here. It's always wonderful to see you guys, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.